So there's this quote that's been making the rounds in tech circles, and it really stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of frames everything we're seeing in software development. It goes something like this. You do not need to know how an internal combustion engine works in order to drive a car.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to know how to steer.
Yeah, which is totally true. I mean, most of us have absolutely no idea what a spark plug actually does.
Exactly. But for the last, 40 years, software development was the engine. If you wanted to build an app, you had to be a mechanic. You had to know the syntax, the libraries.
All of it. Memory management.
Right. But we're seeing this massive shift. The technical knowledge is migrating from the user, into the machine itself.
It creates this strange new reality where the barrier to entry isn't coding skill anymore. It's vision. It's what people are starting to call vibe coding.
Vibe coding. We are definitely going to unpack that term later because it sounds a little ridiculous, but also oddly accurate.
It does.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are unpacking a fascinating guide by Max Ann titled Build a Full-Stack Tetris Game with Antigravity Kit 2.0. And we're looking at a specific piece of technology, Google Antigravity, and a toolkit that claims to completely transform how we use it.
And look, usually when we talk about AI coding tools, we're talking about like a chat bot that writes a Python script for you. This is different. The source material uses this great analogy right up front.
A kitchen one.
The kitchen one. Google Antigravity on its own is like a stove. It's a heat source. You can cook on it. But adding this new Kit 2.0 that turns the stove into a Michelin-star kitchen fully stocked with specialized chefs.
That is a bold claim. So today we're going to test that. We'll break down what anti-gravity actually is. We'll walk through this 60-second installation that supposedly sets up an entire dev team.
Yeah, right?
And then we're going to look at a real-world case study, building a functional Tetris game without writing a single line of code manually.
And we have to talk about the economics of this too, because the price point, or, the lack of one is honestly shocking.
It is. But let's start with the foundation. For the listener who hasn't been refreshing the Google developer blog every hour, what exactly are we looking at with Google Antigravity?
So strip away the branding for a second. At its core, Google Antigravity is a free AI coding IDE. That's an integrated development environment. It looks and feels almost exactly like VS Code, which is what, like 90% of developers use today.
Okay.
But the anti-gravity part, that is the AI integration.
Okay, but let me, play devil's advocate for a second. We have AI in our editors already, right?
Yeah.
We've got GitHub Copilot, we've got Cursor. So how is this not just a glorified, slightly smarter autocomplete?
That is the million-dollar question. And the difference is huge. See, Copilot is text prediction. It's just guessing the next word based on probability. Antigravity is, well, it's agentic.
Agentic. Okay, let's unpack that. What does that actually mean for the person sitting at the keyboard?
Think about the actual physical process of coding. You write a function in a text file, you save it, you switch to your terminal, you run the command, you get a big red error message.
Right.
So you switch back to the code, find the typo, save it, run it again. It's this constant loop of write, run, debug.
It creates so much friction. You spend more time managing windows than actually thinking about the logic.
Exactly. Anti-gravity agents remove that loop. Because the agent isn't just looking at your text file. It has hands, effectively. It has access to the terminal. It has access to a headless browser. It can write the code, open a virtual browser, click the button it just created, see that it's broken, and then fix it all before you even realize there was an error.
So it's not suggesting code for me to type. It is acting on the code itself within the whole environment.
Precisely. It's the difference between a GPS telling you to turn left and a self-driving car just turning left for you.
That seems like a massive shift in workflow. It's closing the loop between writing and running.
It completely removes the friction of the write, run, debug loop.
Okay, so we have this powerful stove in anti-gravity. But the source material suggests that out of the box, while powerful, it's a bit unfocused.
Yeah.
Max Ann argues you need specialized tools, and that's where Kit 2.0 comes in.
Right, because having heat is great, but if you don't have pans or knives or anything, you're not running a restaurant, you're just burning food.
So let's unpack Kit 2.0. This is an open source toolkit on GitHub. What exactly are we installing here?
It is a powerhouse. When you install Kit 2.0, you're adding 16 specialized agents to your workspace. And I want to be clear, these are not generic chatbots. You have a back-end agent, a game dev agent, an SEO specialist.
Wow.
Plus, it adds over 40 skills. These are logic patterns for things like brainstorming or code reviews, and 11 pre-built workflows.
Okay, 16 agents. That sounds kind of chaotic. Like I'm picturing 16 little pop-up windows all asking
Yeah.
me questions while I'm just trying to work. Does it get messy?
You'd think so, right? The whole too many cooks problem. But no, surprisingly not. It all comes down to something called multi-agent orchestration. They just sit in the background, totally silent, until you summon them with simple / commands. You only call up the specific expert you need exactly when you need them.
And the installation process. The source calls it the 60-second method. Now, I've set up dev environments before. It usually involves an hour of installing dependencies and, crying. Is it actually that fast?
It is surprisingly simple. You open the Antigravity terminal, you run one single command, npx at Agentic Kit in init, and then you just wait.
Just one line of code.
One line. And it's actually kind of mesmerizing to watch. You see the text scrolling by, it's downloading the agents, loading the skills, configuring everything. In about 60 seconds, it just says done.
Yeah.
You can verify it by typing a / command, like create, and if the suggestions pop up, you're live.
So it's straightforward management of a really complex system.
Yes, all handled by that multi-agent orchestration and simple commands.
Okay, let's make this concrete. The source walks us through a case study of building a Tetris game. And not just a basic version, a full-stack game with leaderboards. How does this even start?
It starts with the creation step. You're just in the chat and you type, create a Tetris game for me.
And the source mentions using a specific model here, right? Because not all AI models are created equal when it comes to code.
Correct. For the heavy lifting of that initial build, just getting the blocks on the screen, the recommendation is to use a strong coding model like Anthropic's Claude Sonnet or Google's Gemini. You give it your vision, maybe a reference style, and it builds the base game for you.
Okay, so you have a basic Tetris game. It works, but it's probably ugly and, pretty basic. This is where usually as a non-coder I'd get completely stuck. I have the thing, but I don't know how to make it good.
And this is where Kit 2.0 really flexes its muscles. The next step involves a command, create. Specifically, you ask, what new features should we add?
Wait, you ask the AI what to build.
Yes, and this is the moment where the tool shifts from being just a code writer to being more like a product manager. It doesn't just ask you what you want. It analyzes the app you currently have, it looks at its library of skills, and it suggests enhancements.
And then you use brainstorm.
Right. You type brainstorm, give me new ideas to improve this game. And this, for me, this is where I had that little moment of wonder reading this.
What stood out to you?
It's the strategic reasoning. The AI didn't just dump a list of random features like add sounds or make it blue. It actually performed an effort versus impact analysis.
Can you give me an example of what that looked like?
Sure. It listed global leaderboard. It tagged that as high impact for user engagement, but medium effort because of the back-end complexity. Then it listed custom skins as low impact, low effort.
Oh.
It prioritizes them based on feasibility. It helps you decide what to build before it even starts writing the how.
That is such a crucial distinction. It's simulating the judgment of a senior developer, not just the typing speed of a junior one.
Exactly.
So you pick the features, say a leaderboard, and it implements them. But realistically, in this rapid generation process, something is going to break. The code inevitably creates a bug.
Oh, absolutely. You'll get the white screen of death. It's gonna happen.
Right. So what happens then?
That's the beauty of the agents interacting with the environment. If you see an error, you don't copy and paste logs into a chat window. You just screenshot the error.
That's it.
The agents see it, they analyze the code, and they fix it automatically.
It just handles that whole panic loop.
You screenshot the error, and the agents just fix it.
I want to take a quick break here to acknowledge our sponsor. We are back. Before the break, we were talking about fixing bugs, but I want to dive a little deeper into these specialized agents. We mentioned there are 16 of them. It seems like the philosophy here is shifting from one general assistant to a team of specialists.
That's the core philosophy. You wouldn't ask your graphic designer to fix your SQL database, would you? So why ask a general LLM to do everything?
So who are the stars of this team?
Well, first you have the SEO specialist. This is huge because most builders, especially when prototyping, completely ignore SEO until it's way too late.
Right. Core Web Vitals, meta tags, schema markup, all that boring stuff that actually makes or breaks a site.
Exactly. It's so tedious. But with Kit 2.0, you just type @SEO specialist optimize this landing page. And it goes in, it adds the schema, improves the load speeds, fixes the bottlenecks, things like a search engineer.
That is incredibly useful.
Yeah.
But let's talk about when things go wrong. We touched on the screenshot method, but I have to admit, this is where I usually hit a wall. I call it prompt drift.
Oh, I know prompt drift well.
I still wrestle with it myself. I'll try to fix one bug, I explain it to the AI, it fixes that but breaks 3 other things, and suddenly I'm just in development hell. I'm 5 versions deep and nothing works.
We have all been there. It is the absolute worst feeling. The debugger agent is designed to stop that spiral. Instead of you frantically searching Stack Overflow or trying to explain all the context, you just say, @debugger, this button isn't working.
And it knows why.
It reads the code, but it also understands the runtime environment. It finds the missing event listener or the logic break, and it just applies the fix. It solves that specific kind of frustration instantly.
That sounds like a sanity saver. And for the Tetris example, there was a specific game developer agent too.
Yes. And this agent understands things like physics, it understands collision detection and animation loops. So you're not trying to teach a general model how gravity works in a game. You're talking to an agent that already knows game logic.
And then there are the slash commands. We touched on brainstorm and create. What about code quality?
There's review. You run this when the code works, but it feels a bit fragile. It does a risk analysis, it checks for edge cases, and it suggests structural fixes.
And when you're ready to go live?
Deploy. It gives you step-by-step instructions for hosting your app.
So looking at this whole ecosystem, the SEO specialist, the debugger, the game dev, all these commands, do you have to micromanage them? Do you have to be the traffic cop telling them who does what?
No, and that's the advanced technique the source mentions. You can chain them.
How did that work?
You can tell the back-end agent to build an API, then immediately tell the front-end agent to build a login form for that API, and then tell the SEO agent to optimize that page. It just becomes a workflow.
So chaining the agents creates a full workflow without micromanagement.
Exactly. You can chain them back-end to front-end to SEO.
Now, we need to address the elephant in the room, or I guess the lack of an elephant, the cost. When we hear enterprise-grade agents and strategic reasoning, we usually hear big monthly subscription fee.
And that is the wildest part of this whole thing. The full stack described here is free.
I have to push back on that. Nothing is free in cloud computing. Someone is paying for the compute somewhere. Where's the catch?
It feels like there should be one, right? But here's the breakdown. The Antigravity IDE, free. Kit 2.0, it's open source, so free.
Yeah.
Usually, the API costs are what get you. However, this whole setup is designed to work with the Gemini 3 Flash API,
Which has a free tier.
a very generous free tier. It's part of Google's strategy to capture market share. The source says the limits rarely even show up in real use for these kinds of projects. And for the backend and database, they're using things like Supabase, Netlify, and GitHub, all of which have really robust free tiers.
So there is literally zero cost involved.
Only if you voluntarily choose to swap out the model. If you decide, you know what, I want to use GPT-5 or I want Claude Opus, then you bring your own API key and you pay for it. But the default fully functional stack costs nothing.
That leads us right back to the philosophy from the start, the technical skills myth.
And the idea of vibe coding.
Okay, we're back to vibe coding. What does it actually mean in this context?
It just means building based on the vibe or the vision rather than the syntax. The user's job shifts completely. You're no longer the person placing the bricks. You're the architect. You handle the product vision, the agents handle the how, the code.
It fundamentally changes the barrier to entry.
Completely. The source mentions that most developers fail, not because they lack ideas, but because of all that friction. Antigravity just removes the friction.
So is there any cost involved at all?
Only if you swap out Gemini for a paid model like Claude Opus.
Okay, so let's try to summarize the big idea here. We're not just looking at a faster code editor.
No, not at all. We're looking at two key things: strategic reasoning and multi-agent orchestration. It's the difference between having a really nice hammer and having an entire construction crew.
And the accessibility is it's unprecedented. A single command line, the MTX command, and you have a production-ready team of 16 experts.
For free. It changes the entire calculus of should I build this? When the cost of building drops to zero and the time drops to minutes, the amount of software we're going to see created is just going to explode.
So here's my challenge to you, the listener. Even if you aren't a developer, especially if you aren't a developer, try the 60-second install. Just see what it looks like when 16 AI agents set up shop in your computer.
Yeah, just watch them work. It's a real glimpse into the future.
And I'll leave you with this thought. We talked about building Tetris in an hour. If a non-coder can build a leaderboard-equipped, physics-based game in 60 minutes, What does that mean for the future of apps? Are we moving to a world where we don't download apps from an app store, but just generate them on the fly for exactly what we need?
Create a mortgage calculator that understands my specific bank's weird fee structure, and boom, it just exists.
That's the question. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.